Hi, this is Chris Heller, Chief Real Estate Officer at Hojo Labs. Very excited and very fortunate today to get to talk to a longtime friend, someone I have a lot of respect for, and I have known a long time, Ron Patulski, who's the founder of Your Performance People. Ron and his wife run a coaching company, and it's a unique coaching company because they really focus on mindset and how the mind works to help agents get to the next level. So, Ron, first of all, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
Hey, thanks for taking the time to talk to us and talk to our agents. Let's just jump right in. What are some of the things that you focus on? And, with, I don't know, 25 years of experience of working with agents and teams, where do you see the opportunities for agents and teams to really, what they need to do to achieve their goals or get to the next level?
Yeah. Well, one of the things is, we are a coaching company, but we actually see ourselves more as a talent development company. And when we look at developing talent, Chris, it could be a matter of many different factors. Some people have really good skills, and yet they may be lacking an aligned mindset to really to have the confidence to take and use those skills at the highest level. Some people, have a lot of confidence, but they don't know what they don't know, and they need some skill. We work with people around finances, handling their money. One of the questions that we ask when, as our intake process with a potential client and anybody we partner with is, do you presently live below, at, or above your means? Because we want to know that ends up impacting the state that they're presently in, and that they're going to show up on the coaching calls and also in between the calls as well, because ultimately that does impact performance. And the more we know about a client, the more we feel that we can be a resource and a partner that can really make a difference for them.
And I love that. I love that process of finding out, and hopefully they're honest and sharing with you if they're living above or below their means. I guess if they're not, it's going to be a rocky coaching relationship. So Ron, if you're speaking, let's say you're speaking to a group of agents, Hojo Select agents, and they're all coaching clients of yours. We're making introductions to them, and we want them to be as productive and successful as possible. What are some of the things that you'd want them to focus on?
Well, I think the first thing, Chris, you remember this way back when when we first started in coaching, we tended to be biased towards what worked for us. And we really were more like consultants. And so we often would see where if we were calling for sale by owners and expired listings, and we were, lead generating at a high level, we looked at everybody else like that's what they should do. That's their path. And I'm not saying that wouldn't be their path. However, I'll give you an example. Years ago, I got a client that was with another coach, and this client was well connected in the community. He knew everybody. And he belonged to the country club. And so this coach had him doing for sale by owners and expired listings. And from my perspective, we were really missing a huge opportunity. So the first thing that we always take a look at is, where is somebody and what strengths do they have? And those strengths will come from, their prior experience, their educational knowledge. And so we look at all those factors, and we really look at, like, what is the door that we can start to go in to be able to build momentum, to build confidence, and then to build on that as we move along through the relationship.
So these agents in our Just Like network are good agents. They're experienced agents. They produce at a high level. We're introducing them to people in a live transfer, people that they don't know, people that don't know them. What are some of the important things you think they need to accomplish in that first conversation or in the very first follow-up conversation that they have with that consumer?
Yeah. Well, and you've been a master lead generator for years, Chris. So you know this, and it's probably second nature for you. Is the whole concept of rapport, and rapport is not conscious. Rapport would be, hey, you have kids, I have kids, you're married, I'm married, etc. That is a form of rapport, but the rapport we're really talking about, and this is from my perspective, is the gold for what we're talking about today. If you give me a name and a number, and to call Chris Heller because he, inquired about this house or whatever, getting into rapport with Chris instantly is the critical factor.
Okay, and so let me stop you there, because we know that, and we talk to agents about that. But specifically, how do you recommend agents do that? Because a lot of agents know they should be in rapport, and their idea of rapport might be different than what we're talking about or what we'd recommend.
Assuming they make a phone call, as soon as that person answers, it's being hyper focused on, what is their tonality? Are they an upswing or a downswing? Do they speak quick, very rapidly? Are they slower? Do they pause? Because people, we know with unconscious rapport, and this has been proven, many times over, with unconscious rapport, people like people who are like them. So if I talk slowly, research has shown that when I'm dealing with somebody who talks very fast, I could actually be mistrusting of that person on an unconscious level. And would you agree, Chris, that initial connection is everything with an Ojo lead?
It really is. And I want to drill down on what you said, that unconscious rapport, and that people like people who are like them. So as you said, matching and mirroring the rate of speech, the tonality, those type of things are really important. I think another important thing also is to be energetic and enthusiastic with someone you're meeting for the first time. That just goes without saying. Yes. Now, what happens is with people we interview agents to, some of them are what we call now business. These are consumers that are in the market, they're ready to transact, but many of them are future business. They're early in the process. And the most successful agents are the ones that have really mastered follow-up and understand that it may take several months and may take several messages and reach outs and everything with no responses, but they keep going. Why do agents struggle with follow-up, and what are some of the things that you coach agents to do with follow-up?
Well, some of the reasons that I hear, of why people don't follow up is a very common one is they don't want to bother somebody. They don't want to be a nuisance. And so that's probably one of the initial, what I would call initial common reasons people, don't follow up. The other thing is it could be a lack of organization, a lack of a follow-up system. But what's really interesting? We're preparing for an event here in November for our clients here in Austin. And we've been doing some research. Kate, was doing some research in this area around lead follow-up. And, this isn't any earth-shaking. I think we've heard this before. But the research shows that we need to follow up with somebody a minimum of 5 times. A minimum of 5 times. We have actually been tracking our clients, in this industry for a while, and it seems like most agents follow up about 2.5 to 3 times. And so you can see that you're not even entering the strike zone. You need to get into 5+ to even have a shot. I think the other thing to realize is this, Chris. You've been doing this for a long time. I don't care whether it's real estate or anything else. Somebody says they want to do something, and how many times do you actually, like chariots of fire, you call them, they answer, they have the time, you have a great conversation, and then they make the commitment and it's a done deal? How often does that happen?
Less than you'd hope.
Right. We estimate it's 1 out of 10 at the best. So that means 90% of the time, you and I and everybody else is going to have some form of lead follow-up. Even if we have a great conversation, how many times you talk to somebody and say, hey, I'm heading out of town. I really want to take and make this commitment. Let's connect next week. You set an appointment with them, whatever. The other piece that I would always say with lead follow-up, and this has to do with the way the brain works. There is a concept of brain need called orientation. And orientation has to do with what is our relationship to where we are in time and space or with another person. So always with lead follow-up is to go and give the next step. Never leave it open. So what does that mean? They want to take and reconnect. Hey, why don't you call me next week? Nail it down. What time would work for you next week? Was Tuesday or Thursday? How does Tuesday or Thursday look for you? And get it nailed down. And then also talk assumptively. When we talk again, when we meet again, here's what we will review. Or Just so you're constantly orientated. They know what to expect. And, Chris, based on what happened in the world and is happening in the world right now, it happened last year with COVID and everything else, we have a lot of lack of certainty. And so orientation is something that we as human beings are craving. Like, are we going to be okay? What's the next step? What's the direction? And so I would highly recommend that, our OJO clients go ahead and do that.
Hey, Ron, so I want to make sure everyone heard you. It's a minimum of 5 times. It might be 55 times, but it's a minimum of 5 times on the follow-up. Now, you mentioned something I want to ask you about, and that is that one of the things that stops agents from following up is they have this thought or this fear that they're going to be bothering someone. How do you coach agents to get over that?
A couple of things to take a look at. First of all, do we really know that? One of the things about the human mind is we attach meaning to everything, and we create a world in our own mind. In fact, each one of our worlds, this is not to be woo-woo, but each one of our worlds really is in our mind. We look at somebody, we judge them instantly. Oh, they look friendly. Oh, they look this way. They look that way. So the key to unpacking that belief is, first of all, what is the evidence of that, and what is the reason that you feel that way? And what you normally find is somebody may have called somebody or knocked on their door, and they were the person was aggravated with them. We don't know what was going on with them. They may have found out that they had a serious health issue right before they opened the door or answered the call. And so we just don't know what's going on. But we make the assumption that it's us, we're bothering them. Yeah. So that would be the first thing, to really unpack that. I'll give you a real quick story about that. Years ago, I was working with a guy that it was a new client, and he was the low end guy in his area. That's how he saw himself. And he was a machine at, he was in California at the time. And I think, 250 to 350, this was quite a few years ago. He owned that area, but he wanted to get into, the higher price, over $1 million. To make a long story short, he had an experience when he was young selling candy bars for his Catholic school. And he rapped on a door, and this old geezer, ripped his head off. And from that point forward, he created a story that he was bothering somebody, and he didn't want to bother them. And also this guy was affluent too. So he went to he was smart. He went and sold where the candy bars would be purchased. And, he went to this affluent area. So he also tagged on that, people with money or wealthy people are mean, or whatever the attachment, whatever the meaning was.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Agents tend to make up stories in their mind instead of just getting in action and doing what needs to be done. Ron, if someone wants to learn more about what you guys do and your coaching program, how do they get a hold of you?
Our website is yourperformancepeople.com. So we've got a pretty usable website. There's quite a bit of information. If they're interested specifically in looking at what coaching may look like for them, they can go to coachwithypp.com. They fill out 4 or 5 different questions, and we'll be in touch with them. We'll have a conversation. There's no commitment to that. We want to see and make sure that they feel we're a fit for them to partner with them, and vice versa.
All right. So, Ron, thanks again for taking the time. I want to leave with one last question. We're introducing consumers to agents. It's now business, future business, all of it's, opportunity for referrals. What should these agents be doing to take that introduction that we're making and turn it into multiple transactions and being effective at getting referrals from the referrals?
Well, I think it's a mindset. You're looking at, are they just looking at, I've got to sell this person a house or whatever, help them with their needs, and they're not looking beyond that. So the first thing to do is, obviously what we talked about before, get into rapport with them instantly. You're going to find you have a much better chance of solidifying that relationship, so you have somebody you can work with. Once you start to work with them, be very purposeful about meeting their needs, working with with them to meet their needs. And then strategically, when you feel it's appropriate, ask for a referral, ask who they know that may also need the service. And as we all know, if we really do, provide exceptional service, it's not uncommon that they will say, hey, I want you to talk to my brother, or whatever. But we don't want to rely or wait for that. We can be purposeful about that as well.
Got it. Great advice from a great coach. Hope everyone listens to this multiple times. Ron, thanks again for taking the time to join us.
My pleasure, Chris. Thanks for having me.